Today is September 28th, and the Golden State Warriors are just now making a move. Let's talk about it.
It's Trey Styles on the beat.
So earlier today, Shams announced breaking news: the Warriors are going to sign Boston Celtic legend, dare I say, Al Horford. And I'm just like, why? I know, don't get me wrong now. No disrespect to Al Horford because I know what he can do. He's older, obviously, but he doesn't really have any health issues. He plays most of his games. He's going to play hard. He's going to rebound. He's going to defend. He can knock down some key threes. We get that, right? But this league, especially in the West, because the West is stacked with talent, a lot of young talent on these teams. Why are you going older? Like, I'm not comfortable as a fan. I know Steph is Steph, and as long as you have Steph, you always have a chance. But a lot of your core is older. I know older, more wisdom, more experience, but still, you're still older. A lot of these teams have younger pieces. Look at the Spurs. They got Wemby, De'Aaron Fox, what's his name just got drafted there. I can't think of his name. Carter Bryant. Who else? Dylan Harper. You look at the Mavericks, Derek Lively's, PJ Washington's, of course. Like all these teams have gone younger. And it's like we're going older. And I say we as a fan, I'm just like, why are you making older moves? Like, I understand you want to maximize what you have with Steph right now. As long as you have Steph, you have a chance. And you want to make sure that you can at least compete for a fifth ring. But how are you putting Steph and the Golden State Warriors in the best position when you keep signing older players? Like Kuminga, what's happening with Kuminga? Like, last time I checked, they're like at a standstill. He doesn't want to sign. They're trying to get him to sign, but obviously he's still in the contract. And you might as well get something for him right now because next season he has all the leverage. He'll be an unrestricted free agent. He can kind of go where he wants, and you won't get back what you really could get back for him this season. I know the Warriors want to keep him there, but figure out something. I don't like this old core of Al Horford, Draymond Green, Steph, and now Jimmy Butler. And again, I love Jimmy Butler. I love Steph. Like I'm like both of them are like my top, like two of my top favorite players in the league. But I have to be honest and look at the age and look at what's around them, especially in the West, because you want to win a championship, you got to get to the playoffs. You got to be the last team standing in the West. And when you look at who they have, who their core is, and look at the bench and their young talent, I don't feel like the Warriors are developing their young core right. Because when Steph leaves, because these players are like mid-30s, Steph towards the latter end of his 30s, what's going to happen? Are you like on the verge of just blowing the whole thing up when Steph leaves? Because to me, at some point, you should still be focusing on why you have Steph there, because he made it very, very clear, like, don't just focus all on me. Like, don't forget about what a team is going to be after he leaves. So focus on Kuminga. That's a piece that I think they should really, really keep. He's athletic. He's young. He should be developed a lot more. Quentin Post, again, he's young. I love Pods. I love Brandon Przemski. If y'all been here, you know how I feel about Pods. He's another young piece I would love to keep develop more. Like, you don't want to just forget about that young core and just focus so much on the older core. I get their experience, and I get that Steve Kerr likes his veterans. I get that, right? I understand it. But they got to be able to compete and outrun, some of these younger cats. And these young cats they're tall, they're more athletic, they're more skilled. Like, I'm not comfortable with you guys at all. But going to the opposite side of it, the Boston Celtics have stripped Jaylen Brown of pretty much all of the core that was there the past few years. And then you want him to do what exactly? Still be what? In contention in the East? Because the East is wide open. That's number one. But there are teams that have also gotten better. Like the Cavaliers are not going to go away. the Magic, like they've gotten better. I'm hoping that Paolo and Franz can stay healthy, right? Who else is out there in the East? I mean, I don't know what the Bucks are doing. I mean, who knows, right? There's so many teams out there. Detroit, but JT is out, obviously. A lot of the conversation has been throughout the years. Number one, number two, who's Batman, who's Robin? And then, of course, when they won a championship, you saw Jaylen Brown get the MVPs. And then the conversation shifted to like, well, Jaylen Brown is the best player. He's the more aggressive player to me. I can't say he's hands down better than Jason Tatum. But I will say JT requires a lot of attention. So you're focused more on trying to slow him down, which kind of gives JB more opportunities to score, to defend, whatever it may be, right? So no JT, no Drew Holiday, no Kristaps Porzingis, no Al Horford. They still have Peyton Pritchard. I know they have him there. Xavier Tillman, I'm not sure what his role is going to be. He didn't have much of a role last season. Maybe they'll step it up this season. You traded Drew Holiday for Anthony Simons. Like, again, I get that he's good with the three, but defense, I'm not so much sure about that. And one thing about the Celtics, like a lot of their players, they do both. I know they still have Derek White, and I will keep Derek White personally, but I feel like with new ownership, this season they're really going to look to see just how if they need to keep both players, because both JB and JT are both making over $300 million. That's a lot of money for two players in your cap in terms of cap space. So let's see what JB can do in leadership role. And can we get away with getting rid of him at the end of the season and just getting back to JT and building around him? Because one thing we learned this season with Indiana and with OKC is that you don't have to have two players on your roster who make that kind of money. You can focus on having one great player and then building around that great player and still achieving the goal, which is to get a championship. We learned that. We've learned nothing else the past 2 seasons. We have saw that happen, okay? So, and Sam Presti we trust, right? So, I'm just like, I don't think it's fair because you've taken away a lot of the core players that have been the strength and the heartbeat of this team. Al Horford may be older, but he's been part of the heartbeat of that Boston Celtics team the past several years. So taking away their core pieces and then just kind of putting him with new pieces that we haven't really seen how they're going to gel, the chemistry and things like that. It's a whole new world for the Boston Celtics. And yes, things change. They got to grow. They got to evolve. But at the same time, those pieces are going to make a difference. Like, you're going to feel the loss of Al Horford at some point. You're going to feel the loss of not having Drew Holiday. You're going to feel the loss of Kristaps not being there. He's had his issues with his health, but if he's on the court, he's one you have to account for. You can't just leave him wide open. Like, you're not going to do that, So I don't like what they're doing, but I do feel like with new ownership, they're going to use this season, whether it's fair or not, to see whether or not they need to keep JB and JT together or if they can get rid of Jaylen Brown. Because if you ask me, if it comes down to making a choice, they're going to keep JT and they're going to get rid of JB. Let's see how much leader he can be, how much we can achieve with him. But at some point, because they both make so much money, I feel like one of them are going to go, and it's going to be Jaylen Brown. What do you guys think? This is going to be a really, really interesting season upcoming for Jaylen Brown. A lot of pressure is on him. Let's see what you do as number one. Let's see if you look the same way you did with Jason Tatum there. Honestly speaking, it's going to be different, but I'm excited to see how it all works out. What do you guys think about what the Warriors did with Al Horford? What do you think about the changes the Boston Celtics made and how it's going to affect Jaylen Brown and that team ultimately? I look forward to reading your comments, and of course, I will see you in the next video.